All right, guys, we're getting ready to do our plot. In the first 2 rows on that planter, I'm gonna put regular ag beans. It's a 4.8 maturity. In the middle 2 rows, I'm gonna put Iron Clay Cowpeas. And in the last 2 rows, I'm going to plant Eagle Forage Soybeans. I'm a little bit nervous about the Iron Clay peas because they're so small. I'm afraid my planter is gonna have trouble planting the correct population of them. So for fertilizer on this bean field, I don't need any nitrogen because all these are legumes that I planted. I put 300 pounds of 92330 per acre out here. I did add just a little bit of nitrogen just because I can't really get the analysis I need without adding that 184060, which already has some nitrogen in it. It's not gonna hurt anything. So I put down 27 units of nitrogen, not a whole lot, but I put 300 pounds of 92330 down here about a week ago. That's going to be a big plenty for this food plot. Another quick note to mention, always read your herbicide labels. The stuff that I sprayed on that plot early, the Elevore, has a 9-month plant back period for the peas. So the peas may not make it. It's been over a month and a half. I'm gonna go ahead and plant them anyway and see what happens. The beans, both the beans should be fine. The peas may not turn out as desired. So just a side note before we start. Okay, so we've got our trench here. What you do is you just kind of take your knife and you just kind of push everything back open a little bit. Like I said, the ground's a little bit wet, but there's a bean right there. See that purple? That's an ag bean right there. And the depth is good on that one. Let's check our peas. They are a smaller plant, something that I'm not familiar with planting. Like I said, once again, you just kind of take your knife, pry some of that stuff back where you can see real good, and then just kind of start working through that soil lightly. Right there it is. I don't know if y'all can see it yet. I can see it. Right there it is. Right at 3/4 of an inch or so. So really good depth there. Okay, one thing I saw that I wanted to show you guys, you see how that trench isn't closing just perfect? It's a little bit wetter right there, and that's what happens when you're in too wet a ground. This ground's okay, it's not too wet, it's just kind of borderline. You see I don't have any mud on the closing wheels. You see, I mean, that's just dirt, that just crumples away. Okay, so as you can see behind me, this field is a little bit grassy. It's a little bit woolly. That's not a bad thing when we're talking about places where the deer are really going to hammer these crops like soybeans, forage beans, cowpeas like I'm planting right now. It gives the ground a little bit of cover, and it just seems like it makes it a little bit more difficult on those whitetails to find those little seedlings and bite them off before they have a chance to really be able to do anything. The cowpeas I know are not Roundup resistant. I don't know if the Eagle Forage beans are or not. So I've already sprayed burn down on this about 6 weeks ago, okay? So this is basically all just grass. There's not really anything else here. Few mare's tail here and there, but not many. What I'm gonna do is, when I get through planting this, I'm going to come out here with a sprayer and I'm gonna spray this, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this to dying with glyphosate. So what that's going to do, glyphosate's gonna take 7 to 10 days to where you really can start seeing the difference. So these beans should be up in 3 to 4 days with the warm temperatures that we're having, and that should give these beans and cowpeas a little bit of time to have a little bit of protection from those deer. But that is one way that you can do that. If you have a no-till planter, as I planted these with, you can let the grass get a little bit bigger, plant into it, let those beans start coming up, and then spray with Roundup, and it just gives that bean a little bit more cover. All right, I'm super thankful that I remembered to talk about this, because this is really important for you guys, especially you guys that are working your ground as far as either tilling, disking, chiseling, breaking, any of that type of thing for your soybeans. One thing you need to be aware of is heavy rain showers after you get through planting. So let's say you go out and you work your ground, you till it, chisel it, whatever, you get it in real good shape, you go out and you broadcast your beans on it, and you take your little disc and you disc them in. Everything looks beautiful, and then the next day here comes a frog strangler or a gully washer, depending on what part of the country you're in. We get a big heavy rain event essentially, and what happens is it packs that ground, okay, and it almost turns it into concrete on top, and it's called crusting. So the way a soybean works is it's going to start germing, and it's going to turn like this, and it's got a big neck on it, and the actual top of the plant is going to be here, so it's going to push through like that. If that is crusted over real hard, when it's trying to cut through, it will just snap that neck in two, and that plant is dead. So you really need to be aware and pay attention to the forecast when you're planting those beans. And if you may have to take your disc back out there if you get unlucky and get a frog strangling rain right after you plant, you might need to take your little disc out there and hit the top of that ground just to open it up. A lot of times it's just crushed right on top. Down in there it's still loose. That's just something that's really, really important to any type of food plot system, but especially for something that comes up like that. It has a hook. Corn kind of spirals through, so it's not really a big a deal for corn as it is for soybeans. And on no-till, it's really not a big deal either, because you're just working a tiny little section. It's not likely to get packed to where it won't come up. And one other thing to mention, this is the plot that I'm doing the liquid lime, the plot start, the ag lime, and the pelleted lime trial on. You should subscribe so you can see the results of these when I get these in. I've took a research trial out here, and I've spread all 4 of those products out here, and we're going to see how fast they change our soil, if they change our soil pH, and kind of get the lowdown on those products to see if we should be using those or if we should avoid those. Thank you guys. Y'all have a great day. I really appreciate all you guys that are commenting and subscribing.